We are continuing a tradition here on my channel. I don't know how many years in a row I've done this, but it's quite a few years in a row where I come back every beginning of a year and I talk about, basically do a full face of other creators' worst makeup of the year. So we have gone through quite a few worst makeup of 2024, and I have gathered a list of makeup that other creators said was they hate it, they don't want it, worst makeup of 2024, and I'm gonna do a full face, and I have such a good mix here of things that I agree with and things that I do not agree with. And this video serves as a reminder that just because a creator says that they love something that you hate, or vice versa, doesn't mean that either of you are wrong, either of you don't know how to do makeup, or either of you are lying. You just have different preferences, and that is okay. Most of these creators I have met myself in real life, and some I have not. It's gonna be very interesting when we get into palettes, because I did go through quite a few people's like palette ranking of the year, and I picked a couple of palettes that were like ranked in the absolute lower end, which I think is so much fun. So I did take some notes as well. We are gonna start with the primer that I definitely don't agree with, and that's just me personally. And this is the One Size Oil Sucker Primer. And this is a favorite of mine, and I will do the opposite video as well, where I'm gonna do a full face of other creators' best makeup of the year, and that will probably be next week. This is the Oil Sucker Primer by One Size. I mentioned this as a yearly favorite. I think this is an amazing mattifying primer, and Andrea Matlano mentioned this as the worst because she said she thinks that this is too much. She says it works, but she thinks it is too much and it doesn't feel good on her skin. And you know what? I can almost agree with that, because this primer, I'm gonna shake it, is almost too much. It really, really does work. And this is one of those where it's like, what are you looking for in a primer? I'm looking for something that absolutely works, but I also think that if you're looking for something, because when you put this on, and I only put this on where I'm oily, so T-zone, nose, and chin. I do not put it on my cheeks because I do not get oily on my cheeks. And then you're supposed to wait for 3 minutes with minimal face movement, and it dries in and it does become a little bit tight. We are now going to talk about foundation that I think I mentioned myself in the worst makeup products of 2024. I'm not 100% if I mentioned it or if I at least, I know I didn't like it. I literally pulled this out of my declutter bin. I still have them here because I've had some friends go through them and pick out stuff that they wanted to have. Nobody wanted this. Not even my friends wanted this foundation, okay? This one was mentioned by Teresa is Dead, Kelly Gooch, and Heather Austin as a worst product of the year. All three of these people have different skin tones, live in different parts of the country. Heather Austin has oily skin, I have combo skin. Pretty sure both Kelly Gooch and Teresa has dry skin. Nobody likes this foundation, okay? For me, this foundation actually, I have it in shade 32, medium neutral. For me, this foundation actually looks pretty okay going on. It is full coverage. It does look pretty decent going on. This is definitely my summer shade and not my February shade. But it becomes incredibly glowy. And I say glowy, I mean greasy, oily, very quickly. And it just almost like starts to float on top of the skin and just look incredibly heavy and almost like it looks so visible. Like I said, it no longer like looks like it belongs to the skin. It's just floating around on top of the skin, looking incredibly heavy. So this one, I agree. I don't like it at all. With that being said, I have seen people loving this foundation. I think it's just a preference thing. I don't think that this foundation necessarily works better for some skin tones than others, because people with dry skin say it's too dry, people with oily skin say it's too oily. I just think it's more down to a preference thing. Okay, I ended up doing my brows as well. I think, like I said, the foundation looks great. It just will not look great in like 3-4 hours. How did I really think about, because I'm going literally out today. I'm taking my friend to an area here in Austin. We're having lunch. We're gonna go just window shopping a little bit, and we're gonna go to a place that has, it's a Japanese bakery, and I'm apparently wearing this foundation. I will say though, it works better with the oil sucker underneath. That combo makes it bearable. So maybe with some blotting powder I'll survive. The next one is the Say Slip Tint Concealer. This was the least favorite product of both Nicola Rose and Andrea Milano, and both of them said that they thought that it creased, and Andrea Milano said that she didn't like the coverage. She said she prefers a true medium or a full coverage concealer, and I think that this is a medium concealer. But I also think that this gives the coverage of a medium concealer. It doesn't cover everything. But that's one of the things that I like with this, because I have noticed myself that a lot of times those really full coverage concealers, they don't look very believable in real life. And for that reason, I don't use too much of this concealer. And for me, because I don't want it to be full coverage. And I usually have a lot of problems with a lot of concealers creasing on me. And for some reason, this one, actually not. Although, let me actually quickly talk about a powder. This is the Hourglass powder, pressed powder. So many people mentioned this one. Let me see a couple here. Nicola Rose mentioned it, Angela Bright mentioned it, Teresa Stedes mentioned it, I mentioned it, and I will say, we all pretty much agree that this is just not a good powder. It's not worth the price, and you can get better powders at the drugstore. It doesn't really set down, hello? It doesn't really set down your makeup that well. It doesn't keep your makeup from creasing. It doesn't really set down your makeup. You have to use so much for it to do its job. And then when you do, it turns out looking kind of heavy and visible on the skin. And it's honestly, it says it's like blurring. It's not a good powder, quite honestly. It feels the opposite of a nice high-end powder. It looks like nothing, and it does nothing, and then you add even more, and then it just instantly goes from doing nothing, looking like nothing, to looking like too much, looking heavy. So I'm actually not going to be using that powder, at least not under my eyes, to actually give this concealer a chance, because I like this concealer, like I said, but I won't like it with that powder. So I'm using the Glamlight powder, which I've really been enjoying. This is a really nice powder that actually sets things down, mattifies without looking too flat, and it has some, as you can see, it has a little bit of color to it. This is called translucent, but I do think it has some color to it. They do have other colors, and you know what? I like it. I've been enjoying the 2016 Bright Under Eyes, but make it modern. So I've been enjoying that actually a lot. And also I feel like this powder, even though I put on a lot, I don't feel like it looks too crusty. So I've been enjoying this powder a lot. I think it's a great powder. And it came with this puff, so I've been keeping it with the puff. I might use a little bit of the pressed powder on my cheeks, because this foundation, again, does need a little help. But I don't want to use this powder under my eyes, because I don't think it is a great powder, quite honestly. When it comes to bronzers, and I've said that when I've talked about this bronzer, because I mentioned the liquid bronzer by Makeup by Mario. You can see how much I've used as one of my favorite products of the year. I use this for mixing in with foundations when I need them to be more tan, when I'm more tan, because of the undertone of this one and because of the consistency with this one. It is the perfect medium to mix a winter foundation to make it a summer foundation. I think it's great. I also use this as a very sheer bronzer, which I've been very into. I've been into the Bright Under Eyes but sheer bronzer, like 2016 but make it today. And that is the reason why both Kelly Gooch and Angela did not like this product, because they think it is too liquidy and too sheer. And you know what? I agree. It is liquidy. It is sheer. And it's one of those products that if you don't like, and I've said that when I've reviewed this product, if you don't like a sheer bronzer, you just will simply not like this one. I bought this in a medium instead of a light medium, which also did help a little bit. So maybe go up a shade if you're able, but I think it is beautiful. It gives me a little bit of warmth, a little bit of just a subtle bronzer, and I love the consistency. I love how it wears. I think it's beautiful. But again, I love a sheer bronzer, and if you are looking for more, this isn't it. So I 100% actually agree with their review of this, and it comes down to a preference. Are you okay with the sheer bronzer? Yay or nay? I did add a little bit of lip contour because we are going to be putting on a lip soon, but I thought before we can set this all down with a little bit of this pressed powder, because again, it doesn't do much, but at least we can maybe set down some of this liquid bronzer and just, I don't know. At least I can say I used the Hourglass powder. So I'm setting down the bronzer with this. Oh, I am gonna use a liquid or a cream blush. So maybe I should have done that afterwards. You live, you learn. Let's actually do the lip first. I really like this one. I think I mentioned this as a favorite at some point. This is the Give Beauty Dewy Plump Collagen Lip Gel. I think these are really wonderful, but both Tati and Teresa's dad mentioned these as they didn't like the texture on the lips. They felt like they were a little bit goopy. And you know what? They are a little bit more gel-like. I mean, there are a Dew Plump lip gel. I do agree. They are a little bit more gel-like. And I think that a thinner layer is better. But I think they look very beautiful on the lips. I think they're very comfortable on the lips. I don't think that they are too sticky. I think they have the right amount of tack. They're definitely not a watery finish, but they're also not that incredible. You remember Lancome Juicy Tubes? That they're not that. So I actually think they're really wonderful on the lips, but they're definitely thicker than some of those like more watery glosses that are available right now. But I like how they look on the lips. I feel like they feel like a thicker gel meets balm gloss. I like them, but not everybody can like everything. But I definitely agree. It is a little bit of a thicker formula for sure. This product like broke the internet. This is the Milk Makeup Cooling Water Jelly Tint. A lot of people were asking me, will these dry down over time? And honestly, we'll see, because I'm going to use them straight on my cheeks. I have not mentioned this as a favorite, but let me look. Kaki said that these were a least favorite. Kelly Gooch said that these were a least favorite. And also Rachel Palmieri, that is editing this video right now, said that these were one of her least favorite. They're simply just a lot of work for not that much effort. And while I do agree, I personally have not had any problems working with this product. Wait, I turned up too much. I think I just put them on like a gel. And then I go in with a brush right away and brush it out. Now you can hear the airplanes. Welcome to Austin. And I just put on as much as I want. I think we're gonna do a little bit of a blushy look today. And I mean, I think this looks great. I even put it on top of powder. Can you put this on where you want it? Have a sip of Coke and then just go into blend? No. You cannot. I also don't think that the result is the best when you put it on the brush and on the cheeks. I feel like it gets to be too little. And you also like putting it on your hand and then going in, you're gonna have a tint on your hand because this does stain your cheeks. So, I mean, it is a little bit of a different applying thing, yes. And what I have said about this product, how I think that one should think about this product is that this is not one of those one and done, this is gonna be the one blush that you need in your collection. I think that this release is for people who already have a lot of makeup and they're just looking to add something new and fun. And I say innovative, knowing fully well that Milk Makeup did not invent this blush, but it is new, it is fun, it is different, and it's adding a little bit of a newness to your collection if you have a lot of products and at the end a powder blush is a powder blush is a powder blush. This is a little bit different. It gives that kind of innovation and kookiness and newness to your makeup application that some of us might want if we are maybe like me and just want to, you know, have fun with your makeup and not think too much about what's the actual best holy grail. We're just here to have a good time. I do think that these are a good time. Are they an innovative blush on the cheeks? No. You can get this result with something that's probably easier to work with, but they are fun. They are fun and they do work. My preferred method is actually using them on my lips. I love that tint on my lips and then a nude gloss over. That's my preferred method, but I mean, I think this still works. And now I'm gonna ruin it with that awful highlighter. Yuck. Okay. The amount of people that has the Patrick Ta highlighters, I mean, look at how mine looks. Ew, look at that. Oh, it's so gooey. It's so disgusting. As they're one of the worst products of the year, it's crazy. Oh my God, no, I touched it. I touched it. Oh, it's so gooey. It's so gooey. This is a gooey mess. I mean, you can see. What this looks like is it looks and feels as bad as it looks here. Even worse. It's a oily Vaseline mess. And this one is kind of sparkly, dusty. I don't mind a subtle highlighter. I actually don't. If this had been a better quality, if this had been a subtle highlighter and this had been like a glowing, oh my god, I'm so oily. Oh my god, there's oils on the side. Ew, look at that. There's oils on the side just seeping everywhere. Why is this such a bad product? I think that this would have been great. This isn't great. This is a subpar product. And I am surprised that anyone looked at the batch sample of this and said, yeah, let's release that. That's great. That's great. Actually, now that I look at this, I do see a little bit of the pigment separating in the gloss. Not as much as in the Huda Beauty glosses, but I do see that a little bit. Interesting. I mean, these videos are about learning, and so I agree. Oh my god, why is it so oily? Oh, it's down here. Ew, oh, it's... Ew, there's so much oil. Do you see that? Absolute, let's be honest here, trash of a product. And I fished this literally out of my trash because I knew that I wanted to film this video, and I knew that people were going to mention this one. So let me read for you. I'm having my notes here. Who mentioned this that I've seen, and there are so many more. They mentioned this as the worst product. Nikki LaRose, Ali Dawson, Teresa Stead, Andrea Matalano, and Angela Bright, me, and I am sure a bunch others. It's just not a good product. I'm not going to be using that goo. I'm sorry. The goo, no. I'm just going to be using a little bit of the subtle powder, and I'm just going to be dusting a little bit on, and I think like this. I think that like a little bit of subtle, it's a shame that there are visible sparkles, even though it is a subtle powder, but still, this is doable. And especially since I'm going out today, a subtle highlighter is actually not that bad. And if this formula had been, let's be honest, sparkle free, and they have just released a beaming, glowy cream and not a Vaseline to match that product, I don't think that people would have been upset, because a subtle highlight does have a place. That has a place in people's collection. The gooey Vaseline filthiness, oh my god, I got oil everywhere. I need to wash my hands. Absolutely not. So what we are going to do now, I actually have a bunch of palettes here. So I went through some of my friends' like rankings of palettes, and I picked some palettes that they had at the very bottom, and I'm gonna do a look using 1, 2, 3, it's 5 different palettes. Oh my god, I need to wash my hands. I'm disgusting. So Betty Jean mentioned the Game Beauty quad. It's simply because she doesn't like quads, and she wasn't blown away by this one. I think that this is a great quad. I actually brought this one, I've brought this one traveling more than once. I think it is a great quad, but also this is my color story. And I love a quad, so I feel like that makes sense. And then we have the Mario matte palette, the cool tone that he released this year. Ali Dawson mentioned this as her a palette that she didn't like, and I think that it was more a preference thing. She bought this even though she knew full and well she wasn't gonna get a lot of use out of this. I mentioned this, that same here. I mean, the color story, for some people this is amazing. I love an all matte palette. I love an all matte look. I think the quality of this one is amazing, but I do agree with her that like that kind of a color story, I mean, that could have been a 6-pan. Then we have Rachel Palmieri mentioned the Gourmandizes. This was also far down on my ranking. I don't think that either these mattes or these shimmers are the same quality that I know and love from Gourmande Girls. I think that the shimmers crease, and I think the mattes are not as pigmented as I'm used to, so I do agree with that one. Heather Austin mentioned the Metamorph by Arttitude Cosmetics. I also mentioned this one, pretty low in my ranking. I don't think the quality is good. I think the color story is a little mismatched, and also Heather did point out that one of these shades actually is a dud, and you got sent it as like a separate. I think it's this one here. You got sent it as a separate to like change in your palette yourself, but these are glued down. And it is not that easy to change that, and I understand as a small brand owner myself that that is an expensive mistake to fix, but also the factory did that mistake, so they should have paid for it. And I don't think as a brand sending out a palette with one faulty shade that is glued down that you have to like pry out, and it's too much hassle. Most consumers are not going to be attracted by that, to have a dud shade that they have to fix themselves. Other than that, I think the color story is a little bit all over the place, but the other shades are really good quality. And then we have, I'm pretty sure, yes, Linda Glitter Fallout mentioned Nomad. This is a Keys Beachy and Peachy palette by Nomad. I mentioned that I think that this palette is like it's almost like a bright pastel rainbow palette. I did swatch this palette as like more of a rainbow palette, and I agree this color story is not Nomad's best. And I also don't love the packaging, and I don't love a black background for a bright pastel rainbow palette. I think it's the wrong background. It's making this palette look unnecessarily non-cohesive. So we are gonna do a look with all of these together. I'm gonna figure out what that's gonna be while I put a primer on. Okay. Let me actually zoom in a little bit. Hello. I've had some time to think what I want to do, and I think I'm gonna do something a little green and yellow because I love that. So we're gonna start with this one. It's from the Gourmande Girls palette. This is a dark shade, and I think I'm just gonna add this in the outer corner, and I'm starting with this one to make this look as dark as possible, and I'm gonna put that. I'm not gonna do something super dramatic because, like I said, we are heading out for lunch, and I have been trying to perfect the colorful and visible but not too overly dramatic. I've been trying to perfect that kind of a look, and also using contrast without necessarily using too much of a dark shadow. That's also something that I've been trying to perfect these last couple of years, and maybe this is like the exam of like not going too overboard. Although I don't mind overboard, but I also think that there is value in being able to do both. And I think we are actually going to dive in because I really like the yellow here. I've used that a lot. It's called Wish. This is from the quad from Beauty, and I think we are going to use that one, and we are going to blend on the edge with that one, and an E04 to just make this go into a yellow. I think this is going to be really good. There's a couple of like more pastel yellows that we can use from the Keys palette for the inner part of this eye to make it again like contrasty but not too dark. But I'm gonna blend out with the yellow out here. Okay, I don't know if I love this blend, but at this point I think I just have to roll with it. We are okay, let's roll with it. So let's talk about, first of all, what I want to use from this palette. And I think what I'm going to use from this palette is a little bit of this green that, quite honestly, one of the things that I didn't love with this palette is how I don't feel like all the colors belong together. And this one, there's one too many pops in here. There's one too many pops. So I'm going to use this pop because that pop works with this look that I have going on here. And I'm probably going to use a little bit of maybe the black and white from this one. And I am going to be using the yellow in this look. The yellows to get this look to come together. I'm using the darker matte here. And this is the lighter matte, and I'm just putting that in the inner part. Yeah, I really think that this is coming together. And then I'll use that shimmer as well. Let me see what we can use for the shimmer. Oh, I should probably do my lower lash line as well. Let me just use the exact same colors for the lower lash line. I'm gonna start with that green, and I'll get back to you when we can do that shimmer. I'm gonna do the yellow one from the Nomad palette. Okay, let's do the yellow. Oh, that's so pretty. Shimmer. I always have said like, oh, my favorite color is the rainbow. I love all colors equal. But I think we have all realized the last couple of years on YouTube that my favorite colors are actually yellow and orange. And this look is so up my alley. I'm very excited. Let me do a little bit of green here. And a little bit blending over here. Ooh, I feel like I have a little bit of fallout. Not 100% sure. But that looks really good. Okay, like I said, I want to do a little bit of that weird green metallic, and I think I'm going to do that on the lower lash line. This one is called Metamorph. That is from the Arttitude Cosmetics palette. I am going to spray it because I want to be really precise with it, and we are going to put that here. Just a little bit of green. I do think that that actually works out pretty good. And just adding a little bit more of the pastel yellow and blending everything together. I think that that looks really good. I do want to use a little bit of this matte palette, but we'll end with that. I used a little bit of ColourPop's Electric Daisy in my waterline. Unfortunately, this color is discontinued. Let me use a little bit of this palette. I'm going to use the black. And I am just going to have a little smidgen over here just to deepen up. Again, another plane. Sir, I'm filming. I'm just gonna leave it like this, just a little bit, getting it a little bit darker, but not taking over the look. Blending everything out with the brush that I had the green on. Basically, I was using the EO2 and the EO5, smaller brushes. I'm going to go in with the pencil brush and just a little bit of that almost white, and I'm just gonna put that in the absolute very inner, just to brighten that up a little bit and just get it to be even lighter. And I think the look is done. I mean, I do agree to an extent about all of these palettes and the reason why they deserve to be in the bottom of the ranking. That doesn't mean that if you end up buying a palette that may not be the perfect palette for you, and maybe the palette in itself doesn't fit that hole that you thought it was going to fit in your collection, it doesn't mean that you can't mix it and match it with other things to create something that is more you or that is better suited for what you wanted. Because quite clearly, none of these palettes had this color scheme. The green with the yellow. That was none of these palettes, oh, including this one too, none of these palettes color scheme. But since I love that, I was able to find that combination using a couple of palettes together. So remember, even though you might have a dud in your collection, it could be for quality, it could be for consistency, it could be for whatever reason, color story, excitement. It doesn't mean that you can't get use out of it in some other way. So I hope you enjoyed the look. Let me finish this up and we can have a final shout about these products. There are some I love, there are some I don't. So I will say, I think that this looks great, but like I said, we all have different preferences when it comes to makeup, and I already know that this foundation is not going to be my best friend today. It just is what it is. When it comes to like the eyeshadow palettes, I think I already said my piece with that. I still love this bronzer. I think it gives the most amazing like soft bronze, just there, but almost like it's an undetectable bronze, and I like that. This lip product, I really love it. Is it my absolute favorite lip product ever? No. But every now and then I do bring it in my purse. Same with this concealer. I really enjoy this concealer. Is it my absolute favorite concealer? No. But I don't think it's a bad concealer. I do think though that this is one of those concealers, if you do use too much, it might end up creasing on you. But I don't have any creasing right now. I like it, but it's one of those concealers that you can't use more to get full coverage because it will just end up creasing. That I will say, this is a medium concealer for sure. The blush, I said my piece with it. Is this the best blush ever? No, but I do enjoy it. The foundation, I agree. I don't think this is good. The highlighter, I never want to see again in my life. Is that too harsh? No, but literally, set it on a rocket, shoot it into space, never want to see it again. I do not understand what the point was with that one. But I'm happy looking like this, going out today. I'm actually going to sit down. I think I'm going to sit here and film a book haul. If you're interested in book content, that is on my second channel. But I hope you're having a great day. And also, don't forget, I will be filming the opposite to this, a full face of makeup that creators say are their favorite makeup of 2024. And same there. There are some that I agree with. There are some that I don't agree with. And then there's also a couple of products that I'm like, listen, so many people seem to love this. I want to try it for myself. So don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you soon in a new video. Bye.